Hey, Coach Marty here at Active Life Fitness, and today we're going to bring you a real short mobility workout you can do at home every single day. I know that a lot of you have been sitting around the house, maybe some of you are working from home, but I think a lot of us have been sitting around more than ever now that we're kind of quarantined to our homes. And I think it's a great idea to do these mobility drills every day whenever you can. Unlike strength training, where we kind of want you to rest about 48 hours in between bouts so your body can recover, these mobility exercises can and should be done as often as possible, just to keep you moving, because if you're stiff and you're achy, you're not even going to feel like exercising. So this is a great way to get started. So even if you just do these mobility drills and you don't have time for strength training or any kind of cardio, this is a great start. So we're going to start with what we call self-myofascial release. It's basically like giving yourself a massage. So if you've ever had a deep tissue massage, you know that they really dig into you deep and they need you like you're a piece of dough. They're looking for trigger points, and they're breaking up adhesives, and they're trying to really smooth out your fascia so you can move a little more smoothly. So you've probably seen tools like a foam roller, which we're going to use today. We've also got a massage stick, kind of like a rolling pin you might have at home, and you could actually use one of those. There's also other tools like tennis balls, this little tiny peanut, it's part of the rock, a spiky ball, lacrosse ball. There's different kinds of things that you could use to give yourself a massage. Now, doing this first is always the best course of action because it kind of softens your muscles up to get ready for the next bout of mobility drills. So today we're going to do 4 basic exercises. We're going to work on the quads and the inner thigh. We're going to work on the upper back, known as the T-spine area, thoracic spine area. And we're going to get up here in the lats. And then we're also going to look at the calves and the hamstrings. So the key to doing a successful roll is to make sure you move the roller very slowly over the part of the body you're working on. I've seen a lot of people go really, really fast, and it doesn't do them much good. You really want that foam roller to dig in, to do its job, because if you have had a deep tissue massage, you know they're not going quickly over one area. They'll stay in one spot for quite a while, and they'll dig and they'll dig and they'll dig until it starts to loosen up a little bit. So we're going to start with this foam roller, and the first thing we're going to do is work on the upper back, other known as the thoracic spine area. And the first thing I'm going to do is just set this up just under my shoulder blades, like so. I'm going to support my head with my hands. I'm not going to clasp my fingers together because I may end up pulling on my head, which we don't want. I'm going to try to keep my neck in a neutral position, and I'm going to extend over the foam roller like this, just moving through the upper back. I want to try not to move my lower back very much at all. So I'm going to extend my upper back over the roller, back and forth, about 5 or 6 times. And then I'm going to move down a little bit, get a little higher up on my back, and I'll do it again. Trying to get some good extension in my upper back. Once I've done my move of extensions, then I'm going to actually roll it across my upper back. So I'm going to lift myself off the ground slightly, still supporting my head, but this time I'm going to pull my elbows in, and it's going to feel a little bit different. Now I'm going to roll. Roll anywhere from 5 to 10 times in a small area. You should feel this digging in pretty good. Then I'm going to walk back a little. I'm going to get a little lower on my back now. Still in my upper back region. Up around that shoulder blade area. 5 to 10 times. And I'll move one more time. Still keeping it off my lower back. Once I've done that T-spine area, I'm going to turn to my side. Now I'm going to get the lats, those big muscles that run up the side of your back. I'm just gonna line the roller like this. So now it's digging in to those lats. And I'm just gonna kind of glide across the ground back and forth, keeping a slight backwards lean so it hits the posterior fibers of my upper back muscles. If you find a spot that's particularly tender, just kind of sit on it and let that roller work its magic. You should feel that tensity start to decrease a bit as you lay on it. And then we'll switch sides. So for those of you that have trouble getting your arms up way over your head, rolling this area of your body is a good way to start, become a little more flexible in that area. So notice I'm not rolling very far. It's a real short area I'm covering. All right, so the next area we're going to get is the front of my thighs, and then we're going to do the inner part of my thigh. So to get the thigh, I'm going to lie on the roller just like I'm doing a plank. I'm going to put it under one leg. I'm going to rest it just above my knee, staying off the knee joint itself. I'm going to put my left leg out here to the side. I'll stay in this plank position, and I'm going to roll. Again, working on it in a small area. Common mistake is trying to get the whole leg at one time. So we're going to stay in a small area right here. I'll roll nice and slow, 5 to 10 times in that spot. You can really feel it digging in. Then I want to move. I'm going to push that roller up my leg a little bit. Up more towards the middle of my thigh. And I'm going to keep rolling. I'm going to bring it up a little higher now, to the very top of my thigh. And it's right in that little crevice where the thigh meets the hip. We call that the hip flexor area. And we'll do that about 5 to 10 times. Okay, so now I'm going to switch legs. Again, I'll start just above the knee. And I'm going to roll back and forth really slowly. Again, I'm going to move it up my leg a little more. Now you may move that roller 4 or 5 times depending on how long your legs are. I'll move it up again. Make at least 5 passes. One more time, now it's on my hip flexor. Now while you're in this position, you can turn your leg like this. So now the inside of my foot is facing down, and I'm going to get the inner part of my thigh. I want to do the same thing. 5 to 10 passes here. And I'll drop it down a little lower, a little closer to my knee. 5 to 10 here. And I'm going to switch legs. I'll get the inner thigh on the other side. I'll move it up the leg a little bit. Okay, now we're going to work on the calves. So now I'm going to sit up nice and straight. I'm going to put one calf right on top of the roller. I'm going to support myself on my hands. I'm just going to kind of glide back and forth. I'm not actually lifting myself up. I'm just taking a little weight off so I can slide back and forth on the ground. And again, I'm going to start just above that Achilles tendon at the bottom of my leg. I want to keep off of that. I want to get it on the meat of the muscle. I'm going to bring it up a little higher now. And we've got the bigger part of the calf I'm getting towards. And all along the way, you could turn your foot this way, get the outer part of the muscle. You could turn your foot this way, and get the inner part of the muscle. And bring it up a little higher. Now I'm really on the biggest part of my calf now. Again, turning every which way. Okay, now I'm going to bring it up a little higher. Now we're going to go past the knee and onto the hamstring. And we'll do the same technique. Now my hips will come off the ground a little bit. And now I'm going to switch legs. This time I'll start at the hamstring, I'll work my way down. Now if this position is tiring for you, if your arms, shoulders, or wrists are getting tired in this position, you could always do one calf and hamstring, then flip over and do a quad, flip back over, do the other calf and hamstring, flip back over and do the quad. This way you're not in that same position for too long, which might be uncomfortable for some. I'm going to slide it down the leg, get a little lower on my hamstring. And then down to the calf. So now I'm starting at the upper part of the calf, the biggest part of the calf right here. Push it down a little lower. And lower still one more time. All right. Now if flipping and flopping all over the ground is very uncomfortable for you, that's when it's a good idea to get yourself one of these massage sticks. So you could do this in a half kneeling position. And here I could do my quads like this, applying as much pressure as I need to get a good massage. Again, we're not rolling the whole thing like this at one time. We're going to stay in a small area. I can get my quads, I can get the inner part of the thigh, I can get my hamstrings this way, I can get my calves this way. And some of these other massage tools, these are basically to dig in extra deep. So I can put this right up in my spine. I can lie in this ball. And it really digs in there like you wouldn't believe. So these are just a couple things we could use for that. So now we're going to move on to some mobility drills. These are movements, unlike a stretch where you just stretch the muscle and hold it. These are what we call dynamic movements. We're going to move back and forth. We're going to contract the muscle over and over again, and then we're going to move on to some static stretching later. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to stretch out the hip flexor muscle right here. This is a muscle that gets really tight when we sit a lot because it's flexed like this all day long. So I'm going to stretch this hip flexor first. And I'm going to do that by flexing the glute on the same side. I'm going to squeeze that glute as tight as I can. I'm going to stand up nice and tall, and I'm going to breathe in and out, and then I'm going to release it. So when you squeeze that glute tight, you should feel a stretch in the front of this hip. And we'll do 6 on each side. So squeeze tight, keep a nice tall posture. I'm bracing my core as well. That's 4. That's 5. And that's 6. This one I'll do from the side so you can see what it looks like this way. So I'm going to squeeze this glute, which in turn is going to stretch this hip flexion. Now I want you to notice that as I squeeze this glute, I'm staying fairly still. I'm not rocking forward, which you may have seen hip flexor stretches done in the past, but this is a different way to stretch the hip flexor. We're going to squeeze that glute, this loosens up, and then I'm going to relax. You see there's a slight shift in my pelvis as I do this. That's 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we're going to stay in a half kneeling position. I'm going to switch legs because my other knee's getting tired. And now we're going to get some movement in the thoracic spine area. We call this a T-spine rotation. I'm going to bring my hands up behind my ears. Again, you don't want to clasp your hands because you'll end up pulling on your head. So keep your elbows out to the side, nice tall chest. I'm going to inhale and then exhale as I rotate towards the front knee. So the idea is to keep that front knee still as you rotate. And we're only rotating through the upper back, not the lower back. That's 5. And 6, we'll switch sides. Nice tall half kneeling position. I'm going to inhale. Exhale as I rotate. And 6. Now I'm going to do an ankle mobility drill. This time I'm going to get up and I'm going to use a step. If you have a step at home or any kind of box, you're going to rest the balls of your feet right on the edge of the step. I'm going to stand up nice and tall. I'm going to drop one heel at a time. So I'm going to drop my left heel as my right knee bends. I'm going to come up and drop the other heel. Just holding it for a second or two. And I'm going to do 8 on each side. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So that's our calf mobility, or ankle mobility. Next, we're going to work on some hip mobility. When your hips get tight, it's really hard on your lower back, and it could be hard on your knees as well. So we're going to sit up nice and tall as you can. I'm pushing myself up with my hands, and I'm going to drop both of my shins to one side so that the inside of my knee lines up with my heel. I'm going to come to the middle and then back to the other side. So the knee lines up with the heel, back to the other side. And we'll do 6 on each side. That's 3. 4. 5. And 6. Okay, so next we're going to do some leg lifts. And this is going to be a hamstring stretch. So I'm going to push one leg into the ground, as I lift the other one as high as I can. I'm trying to keep both knees straight and both ankles flexed. I'm going to do 8 and then switch. And 8. And 8. So while I'm in this position, I'm going to do some shoulder movements now. One is going to be shoulder flexion. I'm going to keep my arms straight and bring them up over my head as high as I can. The other one is we call external rotation. I'm going to start with my hands like this. I'm going to rotate my hands back towards the ground. So I look like this. Knees bent to help you keep your back neutral. Arms straight. This one is flexion. I'm going to reach towards the ground. I'm going to try and get as close to the ground as I can without bending my elbows. So reach. We'll exhale as we reach. Inhale as we come back up. We'll do 8 of these. And 8. So now we'll go with external rotation. I'm going to pin my upper arms against the ground. Notice my elbows are slightly below my shoulders, not up here, but slightly down here. And I'm going to rotate as far as I can go without arching my back or reaching with my fingertips by bending my wrist. And one more. All right, so next we're going to do a floor pike. I'm going to start in a quadruped position, which means all fours. I'm going to straighten out my legs, and I'm going to push the ground away as I go up as high as I can. Back down to that plank. Back up. Two more. Okay, now we're going to do a cat-cow. I'm going to get in that same quadruped position. I'm going to drop my head as I round my back. I'm pushing the ground away. Then I'm going to arch my back as I pick my head up again. So let's inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, 2 more, inhale, exhale, last one. All right, so now we're going to stand up, and we're going to do an exercise called a toe touch squat stretch. So I'm going to start like this, good width of my feet. I'm going to reach up tall. I'm going to shift my hips back. I'm going to get as close to my toes as I can. And then I'm going to sink down into a squat. And as I do that, I'm going to kind of pry my knees apart with my elbows. And then right back to the toe touch. If you can't touch your toes, that's okay. The key is to keep your knees straight. If you can only reach your ankles or your shins or your knees, that's okay. I'll do it from the side. You can see this view. I'm going to reach up tall. I'm going to sink into a toe touch, down into a squat, and pry those knees apart, right back to the toe touch, right back to the squat. So we're just going to go back and forth, toe touch, squat, toe touch, squat, toe touch, and squat. Last one. All right, now we're going to do a hip mobility drill, which is also a balance drill. I'm just going to do a standing alternating knee hug. I'm going to stand up nice and tall. I'm going to pull my knee, don't do it like that. I'm going to pull my knee up towards my chest. I'm going to try to balance for a second, and then we're going to switch sides. We'll do 5 on each side. If you lose your balance, that's okay. This is a balance drill, so it will improve your balance as well. Try to look straight ahead at a focal point. See, it's not easy. If you do need to hold on to something while you do this, that's okay. Okay, I'm just going to move this mat out of the way. And now we're going to do what we call a bottoms up split squat. So I'm going to grab this pad, I'm going to kneel on it, I'm going to stand nice and tall. My knee is lined up straight ahead, I have a nice tall posture. I'm going to push off this front leg, I'm going to get myself up. Try to get both knees straight, I'm going right back down to the ground. So we do 6 on each side. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'll switch sides. Always start at the bottom. We go up. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I did one extra. Okay, now we go back to the ground for one more. This one's called the single leg quadruped rock back. So I'm going to line up on all fours. I'm going to bring one leg directly out to the side. I'm going to move my hands forward. I'm going to push myself back and pause. Back up. So I'm going to inhale up, exhale down. 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'll do the other leg from this angle so you can see this view. Push the ground away. Notice my back is fairly neutral. I'm not rounded or hunched over. Keep that back neutral. 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, so now we're going to finish up with some static stretching. This is stretches that you may be more familiar with. We're going to do a stretch and hold of the hamstring, a stretch and hold of the calves, and we'll do a couple for the upper body. So I'm going to grab a yoga strap and lie my back again. Similar to those leg lifts. But now I'm going to stretch it up. Try and keep this knee straight. Relax your shoulders, and I'm going to try to hold this 20 to 30 seconds. Just breathe normally in and out as you're holding it. Each time you exhale, you should feel you can pull it just a little further. Now switch legs. So I inhale. Every time I exhale, I'm going to try to pull it just a little further. Now we'll do a hip stretch, sitting up nice and tall. I'm going to sit up nice and tall. I'm going to cross one leg over the other. I'm just going to hug this knee, and I'm going to pull it towards me as I sit up straight. Again, we'll hold this 20 to 30 seconds. Inhale and exhale normally. Every time you exhale, you should feel like you can pull it in just a little further. So just relax on that exhale. You should feel this on the side of your head. And then we'll switch sides. So nice and straight. Inhale, exhale. And then I'm going to lie back down on my back, and we're going to do something similar. Now I'm going to pull one leg across the other, kind of like a figure four, and I'm just going to hold this like that. And inhale and exhale normally. Try to go a little further on each exhale. And we'll switch sides. All right, now we'll finish up on our feet. Take this mat out of here. So now we're going to do a stretch for the calves again. This is a stretch and hold, so I'm going to stand with one foot behind the other. I'm going to keep both heels planted, and I'm going to bend my front knee, keeping the back leg straight. And I'm going to hold this again, 20 to 30 seconds. You'll feel this in the back calf. Again, 20 to 30 seconds, and then we'll switch sides. Okay, next we're going to do a stretch for the chest, or the pecs, and the front of the shoulder. I'm going to put one arm up on this post. You could use a doorway or something like that. I'm going to step forward with the leg opposite my arm, and I'm going to kind of rotate my body this way without moving. And I'm going to feel a stretch right up here where the chest meets the shoulder. I'm going to hold that again 20 to 30 seconds. Every time I exhale, as you feel like you can go just a little further. Just keep your chest out. And then I'm going to go over this post, so I'm going to switch sides. So now my other leg's back, with my other arm is being stretched. All right, and then finally, and you can do this in any position you want, we're going to stretch out the neck. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look down at my right shoulder as I pull my left arm down. So I'm looking down at my right shoulder, I'm pulling my left arm down, and I'm creating a stretch on this side of my neck. And then I'll switch sides. I'll look down at this shoulder, pull this shoulder down. And now I'll do a neck stretch for the back of my neck. I'm going to look down, try to get my chin close to my chest. And that's it for our mobility exercise workout. So remember, you can do this every day. It's a great way to get yourself moving when you've been sitting all day. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you do it every day. And I hope you're doing great. I'll see you later. Bye.